Please note that this story is from a female viewer's perspective. So my dad has always told my sister and I stories of experiences he's had, those of which were mostly about seeing people at work that no one had ever seen before. But there's this one story that always stuck out in my mind for some reason. This strange occurrence happened in the early 1990s in the house directly next door to the one we currently live in. The original tenant, Frank, had supposedly died of old age or something. Now I say supposedly because the cause of death is actually unknown to us. The individuals who owned the house were close friends of my mother's, so as a favor, our family decided to move into the house to ensure its well-keeping. This is after some squatters had moved into the house whilst it was empty. For those of you who don't know what squatters are, they're actually homeless people that break into vacated houses and stay in them for extensive periods of time. So after the squatters were evicted, or thrown in jail, my parents moved in, and the first week or two were pretty eventful to say the least. Now before I go into what actually happened, I should probably explain the layout of the house. It was an old Victorian terrace house that's over 100 years old. My parents slept in the master bedroom, which was situated at the front of the house, whilst my sisters shared a middle room together as they were twins. The hallway ran parallel to the stairs, and the third and final bedroom were located at the end of the hallway. This third room was filled with the previous tenant's old belongings, like old chairs, tables, and boxes of pure junk. That kind of thing. My parents hadn't had a chance to dispose of them, so they were just sat there for the longest amount of time. So on what actually happened? It was after 3 AM when my parents had gone to bed, and no strange occurrences had happened the previous day. My dad woke suddenly, and he didn't think much of it. After all, we all wake up randomly throughout the night, right? Just as he was about to go to bed, he looked through the open bedroom door towards the hallway and noticed a figure just standing there, looking expressionless. My dad's heart seemed to go cold whilst a chill went down his spine. The hairs on the back of his neck stood straight, and all that stereotypical bullshit. My dad decided to try and speak to the guy and ask him who he was and where he'd come from, but it was as if this thing or man had rendered him speechless. He couldn't get out any words no matter how hard he tried, so he just stared at it. Then after a few minutes, the figure slowly decided to turn around and started to stare into the back bedroom towards where my sister were sleeping. Still unable to move, my dad just watched it until he eventually drifted back to sleep. In the morning, my dad told my mother of what had happened. They then decided to check all the windows and doors to see if anyone had broken in, but everything seemed locked and intact. Till this very day, my dad swears that he wasn't dreaming and says it didn't feel like a dream, but instead it felt real. He thinks it might have been the previous tenant checking up on his stuff, but who knows what was actually going on. Nothing too noticeable happened after that, but my parents decided to move out a year later.